Good morning, children. This video lesson contains the exercise part of your lesson, 3 questions. What you have to do is write down all the exercises in your notebook. And in the second part of this same video lesson, you will get a list of questions, very short answer questions and long answer questions. And at the end, you will get 2 value based questions. You have to listen to the discussion in the video and write the answers in your own sentences. Okay? Children, this is the second part. Comprehension check. Complete the following sentences by adding appropriate parts of the sentences given in the box. Now, first we can check what are the answers given in the box. But the bleeding would not stop. Second, to answer 3 questions. Third, but their answers were so varied that the king was not satisfied. And fourth, and to follow it strictly. And 5, to help the king act at the right time. Look at the first question. Many wise men answered the king's questions. What is the answer? Yes, third one. This is the answer for the first question. But their answers were varied that the king was not satisfied. Look at the second one. Someone suggested that there should be a council of wise men. What could be the answer? Yes. The answer is to help the king act at the right time. So this is the answer for the second question. Now come to the third one. Someone else suggested that the king should have a timetable. And what's the answer here? Yes, correct. And follow it strictly. This is the answer. Third one. Follow it strictly. And fourth question, the king requested the hermit for what? Yes, to answer his 3 questions. That is the answer for fourth one. Fifth is, the king washed and dressed the bearded man's wound. And answer is, but the bleeding would not stop. So this is the 5th answer. So what you have to do is, write down all these exercises in your English notebook. Okay? Come to the next question. Come to this part. Working with the text. Answer the following questions. First question. Why was the king advised to go to the magicians? Because the wise men suggested the king he must look into future. He must look into future. And further they suggested that only magicians were able to do so. So the king must go to the magicians. Second question. In answer to the second question, whose advice did the people say would be important to the king? Some suggested seek the advice of counselors. And some suggested to go for the advice of doctors. And yet another group suggested for priest. And the final group suggested for soldiers. So these are the 4 different suggestions for the second question. Now let us move on to the next question. Let me erase this all. Okay, the third question. What suggestions were made in answer to the third question? The third question is, what is the right thing for him to do? And the suggestions are, the first one, he has to do some science work. That is the first suggestion. while others suggested the best thing for a king to do is fighting. And the third suggestion is the best thing is religious worship. Religious worship. So these are the three suggestions for the third questions. The third question. Now let us move on to the fourth question from the text. What is the fourth question? Look at that. Did the wise men win the reward? If not, why not? Did they win? No. Because their answers were variant. The king was not satisfied with their answers, so they did not win any reward at all. Is that clear? Let us move on to the next page. Look at the fifth question. How did the king and the hermit help the wounded man? What did the king do? The king dressed his wound and stopped bleeding. And what did the hermit do? The hermit helped the king to take the man inside the hut, and he let the man sleep there. So, in that way, the hermit helped the wounded man and the king. Then sixth question. Who was the bearded man? Who was the bearded man? He was the enemy of the king. Why did he ask for the king's forgiveness? Because he intended to kill the king as a revenge for the death of his brother and seized his property by the king. Now come to the seventh question. The king forgave the bearded man. What did he do? Show his forgiveness. The king offered to send his doctors to look after him, to treat him. And he also promised the wounded man to give back the seized property. To give back the seized property. This is how he promised his forgiveness. The last question. What were the hermit's answers to the three questions? Write each answer separately. Which answer do you like most and why? So, for the first question, what is the right time to do something? The answer is present time. That is now. And for the second question, with whom he has to deal with? The people around him. The people who are with him. The people who are with him at the moment. And what is the most important business? The most important business is to do some good for these people. For these people. So, the next part of the question is, which answer do you like most and why? We can like the third answer because doing good for others, is our motto of life. That's why we are here. Do some good for others. Next, working with the language. Match items in list A with their meaning in list B. One example is given here. Fainted. Fainted means lost consciousness. Like that, here is A and here is B. You have to match between these two. First one, wounded. Wounded means injured. Look at this. Where is severely injured, that is wounded. So this is the first one. Second one, awoke. Awoke means to wake up. Look at here. Got up from sleep. The first one is the answer for the second. And third, forgive. Forgive means pardon. That is the third answer. And faithful. Faithful means loyal. Loyal. And pity. Pity means feel sorry for. Feel sorry for somebody or something is called pity. Beds. Beds here means small patches of ground for plants. That is beds. And return means give back. Returns means give back. That is the seventh one. This is sixth. Now use any three of the above words in sentences of your own. You may change the form of the word. One example I will give you, he prays to God for forgiveness. Forgiveness. Forgiveness here means pardon. For his some small mistake, he prays to God for forgiveness. And as an answer, we can say that God forgives him. So these are the two forms. This is noun form and this is verb form. Like that, any form you can use. Write sentences of your own. Make sentences of your own. Now let us move on to the second question. Before that, let me erase all these. Okay, let us go to the second question. Each of the following sentences has two blanks. Fill in the blanks with the appropriate form of words given in the bracket. One example is given here. He has dashed to help me. Do you think he will remember his dash? The bracketed word is promise and the answer is he has promised to help me. Do you think he will remember his promise? So here promised is verbal form and promise means noun form. First question. The dash said that only fresh evidence would make him change his dash and the bracketed word is judge. So here the person, the judge, said that only fresh evidence would make him change his judgment. This is noun form. This is personal noun, not a verbal form. So like that, you have to fill the rest of the sentences. Now let us move on to the next page. Look at the next question. I did not notice any serious dash of opinion among the debaters, although they dash from one another over small points. The bracketed word is differ. So I did not notice any serious. I did not notice. This is the main verb. And after that we have to write a noun. I did not notice any serious differ. What is the noun form of differ? Difference of opinion among the debaters, although they dash from one another over small points. Although they, we have to write the past form of differ, that is differed. Second question. It is a fairly simple question to dash, but will you accept my dash as final? The bracketed word is answer. Look at this. It is fairly simple question to answer. Here is the root verb. We have to, the infinitive form of the verb we have to use here to answer. But will you accept my answer? Here also answer. Here this answer is noun form and this is infinitive form. Infinitive with the to. Third question. Fourth question. It is not dash that dash should always be the mother of invention. It is not, we have to write an adjective form here. We have, it is not necessary. It is not necessary that necessity. Here is the noun form. Necessity. Necessity should always be the mother of invention. Fifth question. Hermits are dash men. How they acquire their dash, no one can tell. The bracketed word is wise. Hermits are wise men. That is the adjective form. How they acquire their wisdom. Noun form we require here. Wisdom, no one can tell. Sixth question. The committee has dash to make Jagdish captain of the team. The dash is likely to please everyone. The bracketed word is desired. The committee has verbal form decided. To make Jagdish captain of the team, the noun form, the decision. The decision. So the decision is likely to please everyone. Then last seventh question. Asking for dash is as noble as willingness to dash. Bracketed word is forgive. Asking for noun form. Forgiveness. 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 Forgiveness is as noble as willingness to forgive. Infinitive form. To plus infinitive always. Infinitive form. Now asking and writing. Imagine you are the king. Narrate the incident of your meeting the hermit. Begin like this. You have to write this. Then second question. Imagine you are the hermit. Write briefly the incident of your meeting with the king. Begin like this. Start with these words and rewrite the sentence. Rewrite the story in your own words and submit to your teacher. Okay. Now it is time for question answer session. Look at the first question. This is very short answer, which means in a short sentence, single sentence answers. First question. Why did the king send his messengers throughout his kingdom? Why? Because he wanted to get the answers of his 3 queries. Question number 2. How did the king promise to reward the person who would answer his questions correctly? How did the king promise? He promised a huge sum of money. Question number 3. Whose advice did the king finally think of seeking? Finally, the king thought of seeking the advice of, yes, the hermit. Question number 4. Who did go along with the king to meet the hermit? Did anyone follow the king to meet the hermit? No. So remember the story and answer it. Question number 6. Why did the bearded man press his stomach with his hand? Because he had a wound. Okay. Now let us move on to the next. This is short answer type questions. The previous one was the very short answer, but this is short answer questions. You can write either in 1 or 2 sentences. 1 or 2 sentences. First question. Why was the king advised to listen to his soldiers? So this is the opinion of a certain group of wise men that the king had to listen to soldiers. It might be because these soldiers were protecting his country, protecting his nation, and they helped him to extend the territory. That might be the reason. Okay. Question number 2. Why did the king refuse to give reward to anyone? Because the king was not satisfied with the answers of these wise men, because they gave different answers for his queries. Question number 3. Why the king changed his clothes and left behind his bodyguard and horse meeting the hermit? Because he knew very well that hermit was visited by only simple people. So he wanted to change himself as a simple man. Question number 4. Describe the hermit in 1 or 2 sentences. 1 or 2 sentences, how can you describe this hermit? He was leading a simple life. You can describe a hermit as a wise man. He was so intelligent, and he was a self-sufficient and independent man who used to live in his hut and used to cultivate his own food, and he was so generous and kind. That's why he helped the wounded man. Like that you can write. Now question number 5. Here comes someone running who has been referred to this sentence. Who has been referred to this sentence? Who was the wounded man? The wounded man was the king's enemy. He had a plan to kill the king, and finally he was wounded by the king's guards and escaped from them. He came to the hut of the hermit, where he was treated by this king. Now third category of questions, long answer type. What were the replies the king received for his first questions? Read the text and answer all those replies. Especially 3 or 4 answers are there. Describe the king in your own words. You have to describe the king. He was a good king. He wanted to rule his country brilliantly, and he never wanted to fail in his life. So he wanted to know the 3 questions, and he was so generous, he was so kind, and he was simple. That's why he went to the hermit in a very ordinary man's clothes, like that. Then he helped the wounded man and brought an end to the enmity with him. All these you can describe here. Now value based questions. Question number 1. Do you think we should help people in need? Why so? So this is one of the good qualities that the hermit taught the king. In this text, Tolstoy described that the purpose of our birth on earth itself is to help others. Okay. Now question number 2. The king helped the hermit in digging the beds. He even slept on the floor of the hut and lived like a simple man in the hermit's hut. What lesson we learn from this? So even though he was the ruler of a country, he did not want to follow the affluence of his life always. As according to the situation demands, he changed his life. When he went to visit the hermit's hut, he wanted to accept, he wanted to adopt the situations, the circumstances there. So he was a very gentle and rational king. And what lesson we can learn? That adaptability of situations that the king showed us, we can learn from him. Okay, thank you. These are all the question part and exercise session of the Lesson 3 questions.